You can give a person money and they might survive a month. You can give them a position and they might lead for a year. But give them the right mindset and they'll lead for a lifetime. Because leadership isn't about titles, it's about transformation. Today, I want to take you on a journey, not through theories, but through truths. Truths that have shaped every great leader in history. 6 mindsets that separate those who merely hold authority from those who ignite destiny. A leader without purpose is like a ship without a compass, drifting, reacting, surviving, but never truly arriving. The mindset of purpose over position is what separates those who lead with authority from those who lead with authenticity. Too many people chase the title, the corner office, the nameplate on the door. But the truth is, titles can be given and taken away. Purpose, once found, cannot be stripped from you. It is the fire that burns when the applause stops, the reason you rise when others would rather quit. Every great leader, from the pages of history to the halls of today, has one thing in common. They knew why they led long before they ever learned how to lead. When your leadership is driven by position, your decisions are about protection. Protecting your image, your ego, your control. But when your leadership is driven by purpose, your decisions are about contribution. How to make things better, fairer, stronger. Position says, what can I get? Purpose says, what can I give? And that one shift changes everything, because the energy behind a purpose-driven leader is magnetic. People don't follow them because they have to. They follow because they want to. They feel the sincerity, the conviction, the authenticity. A title may make people listen to your words, but purpose makes them believe in your message. The irony is, the higher the position, the easier it becomes to forget the purpose. The world starts to praise you for your achievements, and slowly, without realizing it, you begin performing for applause instead of meaning. You start protecting the position you once dreamed of using to make a difference. That's why true leaders constantly realign themselves with their purpose. They remind themselves why they began, what they stand for, and who they serve. Because without that clarity, power becomes poison. The moment your position becomes more important than your purpose, you stop leading. You start managing. And management can maintain, but only purpose can transform. A purpose gives your leadership an anchor when challenges shake you. It's easy to lead when things are going well. But when criticism hits, when failure visits, when your plans fall apart, that's when purpose keeps you standing. A leader who leads from position collapses under pressure because their identity is tied to status, but a leader who leads from purpose rises higher because their identity is tied to service. They know, even if I lose the title, I still have the mission. That's unshakable power, the kind that can rebuild from ruins, inspire through pain, and keep walking through storms without losing direction. You see, leadership was never meant to be about control. It was meant to be about calling. When you lead from purpose, you don't lead to be seen. You lead to create something worth seeing. You don't lead to be remembered. You lead to make sure others never forget what's possible. That's the beauty of this mindset. It takes leadership out of the realm of competition and brings it into the realm of contribution. You're no longer trying to prove your worth, you're living your worth. And that's what gives your leadership soul. So, if you ever find yourself wondering where to begin here with your why. Ask yourself, if my title disappeared tomorrow, would my impact remain? That question alone can redefine your direction. Because leadership built on purpose doesn't crumble when the spotlight moves. It shines even brighter in the dark. It's not about climbing the ladder, it's about lifting others as you climb. The moment you understand that, you'll stop chasing positions and start fulfilling your potential. And that shift from ambition to mission is the moment you truly become a leader. The true test of leadership begins the moment things go wrong. Anyone can lead when the sun is shining and the plan is working. But when failure knocks, when expectations crumble, when pressure mounts, that's when a leader's mindset is revealed. The weak instinctively look for someone to blame. The strong, however, look for what they can take responsibility for. The difference between the two is night and day. Blame looks backward, responsibility looks forward. Blame creates distance, responsibility builds connection. A leader who chooses responsibility doesn't waste time defending their image. They invest that energy into finding solutions. That single choice determines whether a crisis becomes chaos or a comeback. Blame is seductive because it feels safe. It lets you off the hook, shields your pride, and gives you a temporary sense of control. But that control is an illusion. Every time you blame, you give away a piece of your power. You hand over your ability to influence change. Because you can't fix what you refuse to own. A leader who blames others becomes a victim of circumstance. But a leader who takes responsibility becomes the master of direction. Responsibility says, I might not have caused this, but I can correct it. I can lead us out of it. That mindset turns adversity into authority. It tells the team, we are not defined by what happened to us. We're defined by how we respond. When a leader owns responsibility, they cultivate trust. People can forgive a mistake, but they will not forgive dishonesty. They will not follow someone who hides behind excuses. Teams are not inspired by leaders who always want to be right. They are inspired by leaders who want to do what's right. Taking responsibility shows strength, humility, and integrity. It says, I value growth more than pride. And when your people see that, they mirror it. They start taking ownership themselves. They stop waiting for permission to act. They stop fearing failure because they know their leader values accountability over perfection. This creates a culture where problems are surfaced quickly, solutions are found faster, and trust grows deeper. Blame, however, is like a slow poison in that culture. It doesn't always appear immediately destructive, but it corrodes the team from within. When leaders blame, team members begin to play defense. They hide mistakes, distort facts, and protect themselves instead of the mission. Innovation dies in that environment because people are too afraid to fail. Responsibility does the opposite. It frees people to take risks, to learn, to grow. It sends a clear message. It's okay to make a mistake. It's not okay to ignore it. That clarity empowers creativity. It transforms the workplace from a field of fear into a space of accountability. And that's where true leadership thrives. The mindset of responsibility also demands emotional maturity. It means controlling your instinct to react, to deflect, to justify. It means standing in the uncomfortable truth and saying, yes, this is where we are. Now, what can I do to move us forward? That's leadership. It's not about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to face the questions. Responsibility is not about blame, shifting, or guilt bearing. It's about ownership. It's about saying, I might not be at fault, but I am at the helm. That maturity separates leaders who crumble under pressure from those who rise through it. At its core, the mindset of responsibility is about power. The power to change, to grow, to influence. Blame takes that power away. Responsibility multiplies it. Every leader must decide what kind of energy they want to create. Do they want to feed fear, or do they want to build trust? The leader who embraces responsibility becomes unstoppable because they live in a state of continuous learning. They understand that mistakes are not signs of weakness, but signals for improvement. And through every challenge, they reinforce one simple truth. Leadership is not about who's to blame. It's about who's willing to take ownership and lead the way forward. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. Every great leader understands this simple but uncomfortable truth. Comfort feels safe, predictable, familiar. It whispers, you've made it. Stay here. But growth shouts louder. There is more in you. Keep going. The leaders who create real impact are the ones who refuse to settle inside their comfort zones. They see comfort for what it truly is, a beautiful trap. Because the moment you stop stretching, you start shrinking. The moment you stop learning, you start losing relevance. Leadership, at its core, is not a position of rest. It's a journey of constant evolution. The mindset of growth over comfort is what separates those who maintain the status quo from those who redefine what's possible. Growth is rarely pleasant. It demands humility. It asks you to face what you don't know, to confront your weaknesses, and to endure failure without losing heart. It pushes you to challenge your limits, not protect them. Great leaders understand that pain is not punishment, it's progress in disguise. Every failure, every rejection, every uncomfortable situation carries a lesson meant to refine, not break. They don't ask, Why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this teaching me? That simple shift in mindset transforms setbacks into stepping stones, because growth doesn't happen in the moments of comfort. It happens in the moments of struggle, when you dare to keep going even when it hurts. Comfort, however, has a silent way of deceiving leaders. It convinces you that stability is success. It tempts you to hold on to what you know rather than reach for what you could become. And the longer you stay in that space, the more it steals your hunger. Growth-minded leaders constantly disrupt their own patterns. They seek feedback even when it stings. They surround themselves with people who challenge them, not just cheer for them. They read, they reflect, they reinvent. They understand that what got them here will not get them there. The world is changing too fast for static leadership. The leaders who survive are the ones who adapt, who stay teachable no matter how successful they become. The mindset of growth over comfort is also the mindset of curiosity. Great leaders never assume they've arrived. They remain students of life. They ask questions, explore new perspectives, and stay open to being wrong. Comfort says, I know enough. Growth says, I can always know more. That curiosity keeps a leader alive inside. It keeps them evolving instead of aging in mindset. It's what allows them to see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you're growing, you're expanding your vision. And when your vision expands, your influence expands with it. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about staying curious enough to keep finding better ones. The pursuit of growth also demands courage. Courage to make bold decisions. Courage to let go of what's familiar. Courage to fail publicly and try again privately. Growth asks you to risk your ego for your evolution. It asks you to trade comfort for challenge, certainty for curiosity, pride for progress. And every time you do, you become stronger, sharper, more self-aware. Leaders who choose comfort over growth may experience temporary peace. But leaders who choose growth over comfort experience lasting transformation. Because comfort gives you relief, but growth gives you results. Growth doesn't just change your skills, it changes your perspective. It teaches patience, resilience, and adaptability. It helps you see discomfort not as a threat, but as a teacher. It builds emotional endurance, preparing you to handle greater responsibility with grace. Every time you grow, you increase your capacity to lead, to inspire, to impact. And that is the essence of leadership, not staying safe, but striving higher. The mindset of growth is not just about becoming better at what you do. It's about becoming greater than who you were yesterday. It's a lifelong journey, one that only begins. True leadership is not about standing above others. It's about standing for others. The mindset of service over superiority transforms leadership from a display of power into an act of purpose. Many chase leadership for the perks, the recognition, the control, but the greatest leaders understand this truth. Leadership is not a privilege to rule, it's a responsibility to serve. Superiority feeds the ego, but service feeds the soul. When your leadership is built on service, people don't follow because they have to. They follow because they trust you, because they feel valued, because they know you care. Service creates connection, and connection creates influence. That is where real leadership begins. The desire for superiority often comes from insecurity, the need to prove, to dominate, to be seen as above. But that mindset builds distance, not respect. People may obey a superior, but they'll never open their hearts to one. True influence isn't gained through authority, it's earned through empathy. The leaders who last are the ones who listen more than they speak, who lift others even when they could take the credit themselves, who measure success not by how high they climb, but by how many they bring with them. Service does not make you smaller, it makes your impact larger. Because when you help others rise, your leadership naturally rises with them. Service is the invisible power that holds great teams together. When leaders serve, they create a culture of loyalty and purpose. People stop working for them and start working with them. They no longer see their roles as tasks, they see them as contributions to a shared mission. That shift is transformational. Superiority isolates, service unites. The mindset of service turns a group of individuals into a family, where every person feels seen, heard, and valued. And when people feel valued, they give their best. Not because they're told to, but because they want to. Service brings out the human side of leadership, reminding everyone that success is not built on competition, but on collaboration. A servant leader also understands that humility is not weakness, it's wisdom. It takes strength to lead with compassion in a world that glorifies control. It takes maturity to choose patience over pride, listening over lecturing, collaboration over command. Humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself, it means thinking of yourself less often. When leaders lead from that place, their presence becomes empowering, not intimidating. They give credit freely, take blame willingly, and make people feel that their contribution matters. That's the kind of leadership that leaves a legacy, not because of the power they held, but because of the hearts they touched. Service also brings perspective. When you focus on serving others, leadership stops being about you. It becomes about something greater than you. You begin to see your role not as a throne, but as a platform to lift others. Every decision you make, every challenge you face, becomes guided by one question: will this help others grow? That question keeps your vision clean and your motives pure. It protects you from arrogance and greed. Because the moment you start serving yourself more than you serve your people, your leadership begins to decay. The world has seen enough leaders chasing superiority. What it desperately needs are leaders who choose service, not because it's easy, but because it's right. The mindset of service builds trust faster than any title or speech ever could. People might respect your position, but they'll only follow your example. When they see you roll up your sleeves, stand beside them, and work with them, they don't just see a boss, they see a believer. Someone who believes in them, invests in them, and cares about their growth. Service doesn't make you less powerful. It makes your power meaningful. It transforms leadership from a demand for loyalty into an invitation to greatness. And that is the kind of leadership that doesn't just lead people, it lifts them. The strength of a leader is not measured in how they act when everything goes right. It's revealed in how they respond when everything goes wrong. The mindset of resilience over reaction separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Life will test every leader. Plans will fall apart. People will disappoint. Circumstances will shift without warning. The reactionary leader panics, blames, or retreats, letting emotions dictate decisions. But the resilient leader pauses, breathes, reflects, and moves forward with purpose. Resilience is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. It's the ability to remain grounded in the storm, steady in uncertainty, and strong in adversity. Because the world doesn't need leaders who simply react, it needs leaders who rise. Reaction comes from impulse, resilience comes from intention. When you react, you give control to the situation. When you're resilient, you take control back. A reactive leader focuses on the problem. A resilient leader focuses on the possibilities within the problem. The difference lies in perspective. Reaction asks, "Why is this happening to me?" Resilience asks, "What can this teach me?" Every setback becomes an opportunity to grow. Every obstacle becomes a mirror reflecting your inner strength. Great leaders are not defined by how quickly they respond, but by how wisely they respond. They understand that calm is not a weakness, it's power under control. And in that calm, they find clarity, courage, and direction. Resilience is built long before the crisis arrives. It's forged in the daily choices, the small moments when no one is watching. Every time a leader faces disappointment and chooses patience instead of panic, they strengthen that muscle. Every time they respond with grace instead of anger, wisdom instead of ego, they build endurance. Resilience is a discipline. It's cultivated through self-awareness, through reflection, through a deep understanding that not everything deserves your reaction. When you master your emotions, you master your environment. Leaders who fail to build resilience become slaves to their circumstances. Leaders who nurture it become architects of their destiny. A resilient mindset also inspires those around you. People draw their emotional cues from their leader. When they see you steady in the storm, they learn steadiness. When they see you calm under pressure, they find courage in their own fear. Reaction spreads chaos, but resilience spreads confidence. It tells your team, "We may bend, but we will not break." That energy is contagious. It keeps morale alive when motivation fades. It helps people focus on solutions instead of spiraling into worry. The leader who embodies resilience doesn't just protect the mission, they protect the mindset of everyone who follows them. To be resilient, a leader must learn the art of detachment, not disconnection, but perspective. Detachment allows you to see the bigger picture, to step back and assess rather than absorb. When you're detached, you're not numb, you're neutral enough to make decisions from strength, not stress. The reactive leader takes everything personally. The resilient leader sees everything purposefully. They understand that setbacks are not signs to stop, but signals to shift. They don't let emotions cloud judgment. They let values guide them. And that's what makes resilience so powerful. It aligns your inner world so that the outer chaos cannot control you. Resilience doesn't mean you don't feel pain, frustration, or fear. It means you don't live there. You experience it, process it, and then move forward with renewed strength. Every challenge becomes a teacher, every trial a training ground. The resilient leader knows that endurance is not about how much you can suffer, but how much you can stay centered while you suffer. Reaction makes you a victim of emotion. Resilience makes you a student of experience. And in that difference lies the essence of great leadership, the ability to face storms with stillness, to stand firm when others fall apart, and to keep moving forward even when everything in you wants to stop. The greatest leaders are not remembered for how long they led. They are remembered for what they left behind. The mindset of legacy over longevity redefines success. Longevity is about years, legacy is about impact. One counts time, the other changes time. You can lead for decades and still leave no mark if your leadership begins and ends with yourself. But when your vision stretches beyond your personal gain and reaches into the hearts and lives of others, you begin building something that will outlast you. True leaders don't chase immortality through fame, they create it through influence. They don't focus on being remembered, they focus on being worth remembering. The pursuit of longevity is driven by ego. It's about staying relevant, holding on to authority, and preserving power. But the pursuit of legacy is driven by purpose. It's about planting seeds that may not grow in your lifetime, but will feed generations to come. Leaders who chase longevity worry about titles and positions. Leaders who build legacy invest in people and principles. They understand that the real measure of leadership is not how long you sit in the chair, but what happens when you're no longer in it. If everything collapses when you leave, you didn't lead, you controlled. But if your influence continues to grow even in your absence, that's when you know you've led with legacy in mind. Building a legacy requires vision that looks beyond the present moment. It's easy to make decisions that serve today, but legacy leaders make decisions that serve tomorrow. They think generationally. They ask, how will this choice affect those who come after me? That question changes everything. It creates accountability that goes beyond the self. Legacy minded leaders don't seek quick wins, they seek lasting change. They invest in systems, values, and people. They mentor instead of manipulate. They build others up instead of building walls around their success. Because they know legacy is not something you leave at the end of your life, it's something you live every day. A legacy driven mindset also transforms how a leader treats people. When longevity is the goal, people become tools for survival. When legacy is the goal, people become partners in purpose. Great leaders pour into others not because it benefits them, but because they believe in the ripple effect of empowerment. They create other leaders instead of followers. They share knowledge freely, give credit generously, and create opportunities selflessly. They know that their greatest contribution to the world will not be what they personally achieve, but what they inspire others to achieve. The most powerful legacy any leader can leave is not a monument of stone, but a movement of people. Legacy demands courage, the courage to stand for what's right, even when it's not popular, to make choices that may not benefit you now, but will bless others later. It requires patience, because legacy is not built in a moment. It's built in the mundane consistency of showing up every day with integrity and intention. It requires humility, because legacy cannot coexist with arrogance. The arrogant seek to be remembered by name. The wise seek to be remembered by impact. The legacy mindset humbles a leader into understanding that leadership is temporary, but the values you live by can echo forever. When a leader embraces the mindset of legacy over longevity, they stop living for applause and start living for alignment. They stop counting the days and start making the days count. They build with the end in mind, not the end of their career, but the continuation of their contribution. Legacy means creating something that continues to serve when you are gone, an idea, a culture, a movement, a belief. The question is not how long can I lead, but how deeply can I touch lives while I lead? Because at the end of it all, the goal of leadership is not to be known for a lifetime. It's to make a difference that lasts beyond it. Leadership isn't a destination, it's a discipline. It's not about being the smartest in the room, but the most self-aware. Not about knowing all the answers, but asking the right questions. Every great leader starts as a learner, grows as a servant, and ends as an inspiration. So, ask yourself today, do you want to lead for a moment? Or do you want to lead for a movement? Because the world doesn't need more bosses. It needs more builders. And the foundation they all share is the mindset of a great leader.